Good evening, everyone. With the time being 6 p.m. on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded both video and audio and will be posted on the district website. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 22nd, 2022 meeting. Is there any discussion around those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is an update from our student representative. Good evening, Victoria.
Hi. So this week, actually, winter sports have started, and our first game for both girls and boys basketball was yesterday. The girls had their home opener against Auburn, and the boys traveled to Auburn for their first game, and the varsity boys won 74-65. And tomorrow, the school is hosting a community movie night, and it's free of charge, and students can bring family and friends. And there's going to be food provided, games, and pictures with Santa, as well as the Polar Express being played. And it's hosted by the classes and the class officers. And this is a great opportunity for students to relax and have some time with their friends before we go on Christmas break. And along with this, there's also a Deck the Doors competition going on during school. And basically, this is where students get to decorate the door of the teacher of their choice. And then at the end of the week, we take a poll and see who won. And then the BHS annual winter concert will take place this week on December 15th in the auditorium at Bartlett High School. And the concert will feature the Bartlett Concert and Jazz Bands, Bartlett Concert Choir, and the a cappella group. And there will also be a song where the special education class gets to participate and play an instrument.
Excellent. When is that, Thursday?
Yes.
Great. Good deal. Any questions or comments from the committee for Vicki? No? School going okay?
Yes, it's great.
That's good to hear. Class tonight?
Yes, it's actually my last one. So
Oh, well, that's
after
good.
this, I'll be able to come.
Excellent. Well, you've been doing a great job even with the class. So,
Thank you.
well, thank you for your updates.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. So we're going to just move our agenda around a bit, and the next item that we're going to take is actually under the superintendent's report, the principal report. And joining us this evening is Ms. Peterson from Webster Middle School. Good evening, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening, everybody. So the first thing I have on my report is Project 351. Every year I report on this annually. Project 351 represents 351 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts. And they ask every year to send an 8th grade representative from each city and town. Their focus is volunteerism and kindness. And so they ask us to choose an 8th grader, nominate an 8th grader who exhibits courage, compassion, kindness, humility, and gratitude. So we asked all the staff, not just 8th grade staff, since our 5th, 6th, 7th grade teachers and unified arts teachers and other staff members may know 8th graders. And so we had 3 students nominated this year, and one of those students will represent us at the kickoff day back to in-person this year, finally, in Boston. And usually the governor speaks and the mayor, and the kickoff day is always Martin Luther King Day to represent kindness and giving. And so I am happy to announce that our representative this year is Miss Trinity Crompton. Trinity is a member of Student Council and JHS. She has volunteered at the town library and done Earth Day cleanup around town. So we are happy to have her represent us in her quiet, courageous manner and can't wait to get her started. I know they've had a couple of online meetings already just to make sure everybody's set up and ready. And January will be here before we know it, and we'll get started. Project 351 is mostly affiliated with Cradles to Crayons, but they are affiliated with other organizations as well. And in my history with dealing with students from other schools as well, sometimes they are allowed to come up with a project on their own and work within their community for that too. So the next item I have listed is our potluck supper, which is coming up on Thursday. I know that the high school has an event on Thursday as well. Ours starts at 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It is, we're calling it a cultural potluck. We have invited all of our middle school families via dojo, email, one call, and hopefully we will have a good turnout. But the point is to get to know families, families to get to know each other, families to get to know us through things that we love. And food is always a thing that we love. And I know in my culture and ethnicity, I love to bake and share those things with people. So I'm hoping others will do the same. So everyone who is invited to bring a dish that represents their culture or ethnicity and share at a common table, and that will be Thursday. I know that last time I presented, we talked a little bit about discipline and the new educator's handbook that we are using to track and collect our discipline data. So I just wanted to give you guys some numbers. And so I'll rattle off some things, and then if you have questions, obviously you can ask. But so the way that the discipline is set up, it's set up into two sections. One is called referrals, and that's when a staff member can refer something to the office. So it's things that aren't necessarily handled in the classroom but need to be bumped up to our level. Maybe it's something that's been handled multiple times and the teachers aren't getting progress, so that gets bumped to admin. The other section is called minors, and that's where teachers will put in their data. So things like teacher detentions or parent phone calls or anything like that. So we started this in November, mid-November, and so for about a month now, I guess, we've been doing this. And so our total referrals are 128 and our total minors are 182. This data is of yesterday. So total, we have 310 incidents. That sounds like a lot, but when I break it down, you'll understand where all the numbers come from. So if we look at our referrals first, the highest number for consequences is office detention with 58 office detentions and lunch detention at 33. So all the other things are much lower than that. So we're just looking at those things as consequences. The data shows that our discipline has improved because the suspension is not like number one. It's way down, actually. So the highest thing that we've dealt with for referrals is cell phone use, insubordination or disrespect, inappropriate language or obscene language, and missing class or skipping class. Those are the top four. 84 of the incidents have happened in the classroom and 28 in the hallway. The highest incidents, I think I had mentioned last time that I was surprised at the day of the week. So it's actually kind of evened out at this point. We had 29 incidences on Mondays, 28 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 26 on Tuesdays, and it's still only 17 on Fridays. So again, I am surprised at that Friday is the lowest. If we look at hours, between 1 and 2, we had 25 referrals. Noon to 1 was 20, 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock, 18, and 10 o'clock, 16. So early morning, very limited and scattered throughout the day. We can also break this down into what subjects these things are happening, what arrangements within the classroom. We can break it down in students and by employees. I don't want to give you that information in public because it would call people out, and I don't want to do that. Grade 8 is the highest with 73, and grade 7 next with 30. So what I can report in terms of specific students is that even though 128 referrals sounds like a lot in a month, there are 4 students with 5 or more referrals. So if we look at that data, all those other 124 are 1 referral or 2. And so we're taking care of these things with 1 and done. And so what we're doing in terms of discipline and consequences or social justice or restorative practice, all of those things are working because we're seeing that one referral, and that's it. So we have 4. In terms of minors, again, this is what teachers are dealing with within their classrooms or within their teams. And so lunch detentions are the highest consequence, with after-school detention coming next and parent contact coming in at 3rd. Again, the top reasons are for insubordination or defiance, disrespect. The next one would be class disruption, and the next would be an attendance violation. So whether it's tardy to class or missing some class. So very similar to referrals. 127 of those 182 minors happen in the classroom, and 54 of them happen in non-instructional time. So whether that be out at recess or in passing or in the lunchroom. And in this instance, 5th grade has the most minors reported with 61, and 8th grade close behind with 58. And so again, similar, we can look at days, Monday being the highest here, and 9 o'clock hour being the highest here. And again, we can look at the student breakdown, and it's very similar in this. There are 7 students with 5 or more incidents. So again, with those 182 minors, we're getting the 1s and 2s, and really, you've got the handful that are rising to the top that need a little bit more intervention. It's a lot of numbers.
Ms. Peterson, do you find this tool to be useful? It sounds like you're crunching the data, right?
Yeah, I am very happy with the choice that the team has made. It is, super easy to pull this data and look at graphs and dig into it further. And I think the PBIS team is going to find this very useful in looking at the specific areas of where we need to bump up more positive recognitions and more focus areas, maybe once a month, which we used to do. So it's really great. You can pull up a student and see everything the teacher's done, and everybody is using the same drop-down menus, the same language, and so it's really good. And I think, like I said last time, when we get a referral, the administration puts in what we've done, and it goes right back to the teacher immediately. So they get a response. They don't have to wonder what we did or come and find us. It's a very useful tool for communication.
That's great. It sounds like it's really streamlined things.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
I would just like to add that I think this data is going to really help as we reinforce positive behavioral systems, not just the intrinsic or extrinsic rewards. We had gone out for an RFP, and we will be working with the May Institute with the PBIS systems that we have to put in place, with the changes in the laws, with discipline and not being able to directly suspend without positive behavioral interventions. That use of that consistent data across the district and having PBIS teams at all the schools and really digging deep to exactly what you said, the time of the incident, the number of students, the situations, we're really going to be able to peel back the onion. And that level of consistency is going to help the district tremendously with dealing with discipline and behaviors. And we know that kids' behaviors are speaking to us about something different, and that it's our job to figure out what that behavior is a signal for. So I'm pleased that your team will be working with Eric Mackey and each of the teams in the buildings too. So I think things are kind of coming together nicely in terms of that consistency that we needed.
Yes,
Thank you for all that detail. That was great.
I'm actually meeting with Mr. Mackey tomorrow and our PBIS lead, so that we'll start looking at this.
Yep. And he has scheduled meetings at all the buildings.
That's great, and it's great that you can see, I took some notes, 7 students with 5 or more of those minor referrals, or minor incidents, I guess, right? That, if I remember correctly from reviewing, and I'm not sure if I'm confusing the middle school with the high school, a certain number of minor bumps it to that next level, doesn't it?
It depends on what the situation is, but yes, if a teacher is consistently giving, let's say, giving detentions and has made multiple phone calls home, and then it turns it, if they're not seeing progress in or changes, then they'll send it as a referral, and then it becomes an office situation.
Good. Good deal. Thanks for all that information.
Of course.
Anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, I mean, I wish I could show you the data because it really is cool to look at, but unfortunately, when you pull the screen up, you can see students' names, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you gave us a really good level of detail, so thanks. No other questions or comments from Ms. Peterson? No? All right, well, thank you for your updates. We moved a little bit down the agenda, so let's move back up and begin with the superintendent's report. Good evening, Dr. Gogan.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's well. I will start my report with a personnel update. I'm pleased to let you know that we have hired Victoria Kubicki as a grade 7 math teacher over at the Webster Middle School, Stephen Lokith, a para at Webster Middle School, and Lobina Elmalwa, a para at Bartlett High School. We have received retirement notices from Lorraine Grammatikakis. She'll be retiring in August. She's a grade 4 teacher at Park Ave. We've received retirement notices from Jim Nebelong. He'll be retiring June 30th. He's a math teacher over at Bartlett High School. And the retirement notice of Ellen Jeffers for November 30th next year. She's a STEM teacher over at Park Avenue Elementary School. Under my instructional leadership update, I'm very pleased to let you know that we are out of L corrective action. And I want to publicly thank Dr. Mackay and all of our L teachers across the district for filling and changing practices to meet the needs that Desi pointed out to us. So a big congratulations and thanks goes out to them. Under instructional leadership, we're, as you know, been working with the TNTP consultants for GLEAM this year, and Erin Telcott was on site doing observations with our staff on December 7th. At the end of her observation days that she's here, she meets with the team and they debrief to discuss glows that they see, patterns and opportunities for changing practices. One glow that I want to publicly share that she shared with me and the team was that she consistently sees positive relationships between our teachers and students. Again, as a reminder, the GLEAM work is just the middle school and the high school. There'll be ongoing TNTP visits this year, and the teams will continue to work with their GLEAM leads, academic coaches, administration to implement the recommendations that come from this professional learning opportunity. We then held a GLEAM kickoff meeting here on the afternoon of December 7th with our consultant, Erin Talcott from TNTP. This year, we have a different approach. Our own teachers were really running the meeting. So I want to give a shout out to our GLEAM leads, Jessica Barokis and Deb Zablocki, and our members of our GLEAM team this year who were participating freely in this meeting, Sarah Reardon, Lynn Gingras, Colleen Nassis, Kristen Aganis, Patty Mackay, Jill Chapdelaine, Heidi Peterson, and myself were there. We also had a representative from our sauce team from DESI, Jen Scott was there. Their presentation that they put together for our first Gleam meeting was really a snapshot on where we were last year and how this team, this Gleam team, is really being tasked with being the leaders of change from the teacher level to teacher level. So it was a really positive meeting. I'm also pleased to let you know that we received the Innovation Pathways FY23 Implementation and Support Grant of $50,000. These funds will be used to assist materials for our advanced manufacturing and healthcare and social assistance pathways. As that continues to grow, we need those funds. Under family and community engagement, you heard a lot of this tonight. There's a lot of special events happening. I have those listed in your school committee packet. I know our athletic director has recently held some winter sports nights at Bartlett and Webster Middle School to kick off the winter season. There was a very successful PTO, Sneezy, the Snowman Winter Literacy Night that I think some of you attended, and that was, I saw some pictures from that. That was a fun night. As Victoria shared, there's a free movie night that's being held by the seniors on Friday night. The winter concert is December 15th at Bartlett at 7 o'clock. The middle school is hosting their potluck event on December 15th at 6 o'clock. And the winter concert for the Webster Middle School is December 21st at 6 o'clock. Under other updates, I'm very pleased to announce that the John and Abigail Scholarship recipients have been notified. And I want to give a shout out to the list of these students. This is a merit-based scholarship, and these students will receive credit tuitions for up to 8 semesters of undergraduate education in a Massachusetts state college or university. They scored advanced in one of the 3 standardized tests, and they had to score proficient or advanced in the remaining 2 assessments. So the list of these students from Bartlett are the top 25% of their schools. Congratulations goes out to Elizabeth Adams, Maxine Adu Bowen Jones, Faith Blaisdell, Ariana Frank McCluskey, Shelley Condon, Sam DeRosia, Isabel Figueroa, Emily Franks, Naya Gonzalez, Osvaldo Gonzalez, Noah Lomax, Catherine McIntyre, Erica's No Jokas, Donnie Pathavon, Cameron Phillips, Lily Piccioni, Gabrielle Peeler, Daria Pivovarchik, Ali Marie Rodriguez, Victoria Spitz, and Megan Tucker. These students worked very hard, and I hope they use these scholarships to go to a Massachusetts State College or university, and congratulations to them and to their families. And that concludes my report, and I will end by wishing everyone a very happy and joyous, safe holiday season with your families.
Thank you for your updates, Dr. Gogan. The next item on the agenda is the Business Manager Report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening, thank you. The first item I have is Building Committee update. The Building Committee met on December 6th to review where the project is at. There were 2 main topics of discussion. The first one is the modulars that are going to be needed for the start of school next year, have them up and running. We will be going out to bid after the first of the year, so the bid has been released, and we will be getting bids back in January, because the hope is to have them on site from March or April, because they're going to have to start the site work to prep for the modulars. There's a lot that goes into setting those up. We're going to have to prep the ground. We're going to have to connect water, sewer, power, electricity, technology, and integrate all of that within the school. So the earlier we can go out to bid with that, the better. So I'm happy to say they've been released. They are available to the public. They were in the Goods and Service Bulletin. We advertised them on Combis. We also advertised them in the local Telegram and Gazette. along with posting in the entryway here. So hopefully those bids will come in favorably. We should know in mid-January. The second topic of discussion was the project as a whole. As you know, as we proceed through the design development phase, we have to do 3 cost estimates for the final submittal in the summer. So the first one was due in December. Bids came in, or not, they're not bids at that point, they're visions, they're cost estimates. Our OPMs who work for us, we've hired, actually do their own cost estimate along with the architect who does theirs. They sit down, they spend a day, they compare, see if there's any differences, and come up with a final number. Those numbers come in at about 14% higher than they were when we were initially looking at the project. So at that point, we take a look at the project and we say, what can we value engineer down? The MSBA asks us to take a look at the project and what can we scale back on, what can we change or value engineer to improve the cost of the project. So the OPM goes back with the architect, they go through the scope of work, and they make recommendations. They brought those recommendations to the building committee 2 meetings ago, and then they were reviewed in more detail at this meeting after the building committee had time to digest the information. The OPM put them into categories. Our goal is to not touch the educational component of the building. Our goal has always been to improve Bartlett educationally, and that is the foundation of the project. So we take a look at that and what has the least kind of impact. So in your packet, you should have had, I'm just going to review the spreadsheet. I'm not going to look at the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint really just describes what these items are. But if you look at the first page, you see where it says value engineering required down here. It's the 14 million that came in over, 14.9. Right off the top, you look at the 3 big items, 3 big ticket items, the alternates that were built in the project. Was the field house and the multi-purpose field for 11.4 million. There was PV support steel that was being built into the top, the roof, that would be for future installment of solar panels if you wanted that. And then the third one is 547, that would have been for the softball fields. The hope was to have 2 soccer overlay fields on the athletic fields, and by doing that, we would have had to extend the softball field and do some significant work there, which would have added quite a value. So the total of those 3 items are 13.2 million, which still requires us to take another look at 1.6 million. So right off the top, we've taken off the fields, and now we start looking at the design of the inside. The OPMs tiered everything for us. So on the first page, you'll see value engineering 1, and then it's tiered down to a value engineering 2, and then a 3. So it goes deeper into the project as we need it. Right now, we basically just looked at value engineering 1, that list of items, and we discussed that at building committee. We didn't have to make any decisions on this list that would impact the instructional or educational component of the building. We walked through all these items. There was some discussion about the items. Some of the suggestions that were made were really just the first 2 items on the list were actually the asphalt and the curbing, the granite curbing in front. And it was the decision of the committee to kind of add that back in and move that, hold that into the project and move that to tier 2 and not remove that from the initial list and swap it out where some of the walls, it's kind of like wainscoting on the walls. That's a custodial thing for maintenance and cleanliness. It goes up 4 feet through the entire building. That's a big ticket item. That item was $657,000 if we were to remove that. So after some discussion, we understand that the outside of the building is just as important as the inside when people come up. They see a building, they want something that's going to last. If we were to remove that curbing and just do asphalt, that breaks. And over time, you're going to be investing a lot more money in repairing curbing, where if you put in the granite and make it around, it's secure and it's going to last you well over 50 years. So to put that back in was about $352,000. So we offset that with the wainscoting. So we're still going to have some wainscoting in the high impact areas of the building. And then we can make that an add-in as we go through. We've also discussed adding in the track, because we know the fields right now with the prices coming in are just out of, it's too much, and that's not going to happen. But we would at least like to make sure that our track is up and running. Our track is used by the public. It's also, we want the opportunity to have our kids have a home track meet here. So they've broken down on the back. You can see they've kind of lessened the fields and broke it down into sections. So if we were to look at just rebuilding the track to its existing configuration and not touching anything else, that would be $550,000 to bring that up. So that would be put in as our first alternate, our first add, to make sure we can get that and they're confident they feel. We didn't go beyond that point. They feel like there's not a need to go beyond that point yet. That gets us to where we need to be. And, you know, there was questions about, are these cut in stone? Once we say we're going to approve these, is there a chance that they can get back into the project? And the answer to that is depends. Depends on how much design and scope work needs to go in, putting them back in. If there's something outside that's maybe just, you know, a tile floor or something like that, there's not a lot of design that goes into it, improving that. So that could easily be added back in if the pricing gets favorable over the next two rounds of cost estimates. But at this point, you know, those items have been value engineered down, and we are still holding on to group 2 and to group 3. We'll know after our next cost estimate, which will probably be in March, I believe they said, and they'll do the same exercise again. They're gonna review all the costs and go through the projects, sit down at the table, and then come back to the committee again to let us know where they're at. So it was a good hour-and-a-half meeting on Thursday, just reviewing all of this. But the architects and OPMs feel confident that this is going to be a building to be proud of. It's going to meet all of our needs. We're not going to get athletic fields or a stadium, but we're still going to have a wonderful building and a great campus. Any questions about that?
Well, it's really great to see the process, and obviously the educational aspect of the building is our primary focus. And, you know, it's good to see all of the thought that goes into how we can value engineer things to get the most for our money. And certainly the track is necessary. I certainly think the fields would have been really nice to have.
Absolutely.
Wonder if there's any, you know, any other avenues that we can pursue sometime in the future, but certainly the educational aspect of this project is number one.
We wouldn't turn down any large donations, I can say that.
We sure wouldn't, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but it's still exciting because, you know, it's always been about the building, you know, the other stuff would have just been a huge bonus for the students and for us, but we're getting a pretty fantastic building, and they're confident they can deliver on that. So, you know, hopefully prices will continue to improve. We've hit the peak, I hope, and maybe things will be improving, and, you know, we'll have a better idea. I mean, you know, you never know. You say a few months can make a difference. Look how it changed. Hopefully it'll go back the other way, and maybe we'll have the opportunity to pull some of these items back.
Go ahead, Ms. Millett.
Through the chair. How many modular classrooms are going to be needed, and where would they be put?
There's 14 classrooms. There's also going to be an admin space in there, restrooms. I think there were 4 restrooms, 4 student restrooms, and then 2 adult restrooms, single restrooms. They're going to go right in the staff parking out front in the loop there, within the bus
Okay.
loop, right in that, where it's great. They're gonna have to tie in to sewer and water. The sewer, unfortunately, is on that side of the building. And there was no way they could put the modulars on that side of the building. They're gonna have staging over there in the area to keep the contractors away and by the road for access and stuff. So there was really no other place we could put the modulars. They initially talked about putting them on the parking lots over in the back by Eastern Ave. And then I made the suggestion to, how about we put them over here a little closer to the building? And they're like, you don't mind taking the parking lot away? And I said, no, there's plenty of parking here. We're fortunate because if you were around at Park Ave, I know Linda, you were definitely around at Park Ave time frame, there was no parking. And we had to hire, we were driving and shuttling staff around from up the hill in a couple of parking lots down to the fields and down to the school for their daily, every day. So we're lucky here, we're fortunate. It's going to be a little difficult as we move through, just to navigate in the moving pieces. I mean, Dr. Gogan's been in a lot of meetings with the principals and us as we work through the modulars, what's going to go where and how they're going to place them. I don't know if you want to speak to the modulars at all.
Well, I think it's like a big puzzle that you have to figure out, because as they're doing the different phases in the building, different people are going to be moving in and out. And so we wanted to really work on keeping some stability for our high-risk students and our special education students, so where they may be in the building but moving to different spaces. So there's a master plan, which we had to go through in order to know how big the modulars were going to be so they could go out for bid. I think that the pre-work that we've done is pretty detailed, and I think that's going to help in the long run. There may be some last-minute changes. Of course, we would anticipate some of that, but I think the 14 classrooms and the space where the actual modulars are going to go is close to the building, and they're going to be building like a walkway and making sure it's safe for the kids. And
Tying all the technology, all the security, the card systems,
Yep.
make sure that we're tied in.
Yeah, and I think, it's going to be here fast. They'll be set up hopefully by April, and the kids are going to start the school year. In some classrooms are going to start in the modulars next year. So we're trying to do the least amount of movement for the kids, and eventually it would be good to have, the plan shared so people can anticipate who's moving and what's going on. But that behind-the-scenes work that our OPM and designer and the teams are doing is pretty detailed, which is going to make for a wonderful project.
Okay, no more questions, I'll move on. Next item is maintenance update. Just a couple of minor things there. The signage, I don't know if you've seen it, is been in and up and posted around our campuses. So it should be at Park Ave, and I know it's posted here at a couple of our entrances, so that's all good. And then all of our buildings are running smoothly. I know we're having a little issue here, this room. The controller in this room is not working, so that's why it gets a little warm in here at times. So we're waiting for the company to come out and take a look at that. But other than that, we're holding our own within the building. And then in other updates, just a couple of things. The town is really working hard. We're going to be going over to a new version of Munis. Munis is where we do all of our financials, all of our payroll and everything throughout the school and the town. That system is being upgraded. They're moving to a whole new platform. So we've had many discussions about this upgrade. After the first of the year, we're going into a test environment, and we'll be in a test environment for about 6 months as we go through to make sure the system's operating and to get users used to the new interface. It's going to be totally different. We've been on a desktop client for a long time, and we're moving to a web-based portal, which will access much easier for everybody, but there is going to be a change coming with that. So I've been involved with the town and working with that, and it'll start to roll out after the first of the year. And then the other item I had is I just wanted to actually give a shout out to Stacy Quilter, our data, a data person. She has been, she kind of quietly sits in our office and does her work, and you don't hear a lot about what she's doing, but she is solely responsible for all the state reporting that happens in this district, all of the October 1st numbers that you see, all of the SIMS reporting, all of the EPUMS reporting and the staff reporting. All of this is tied to all of the funding that we get as a district, and everything you see on the state sites comes from this reports. So she works, she shares them out, she goes through, I can't tell you how she looks at all the data. Literally, she goes through every person by person and every school by school, looking for things to make sure that we're accounting for everything and anything. And beyond that, we've had discussions about educator handbook, and we've had discussions about we're going to online enrollment. So anything that's really tied to Power School, Stacy heads up. She runs those implementations. So she was the one responsible for implementing the educator's handbook. She's going to be the one that's responsible for looking at our Enrollment Express for online enrollments. She was very involved in the special ed programming when we updated to Power School there. She was very involved with the Mosaic. So she just quietly, sometimes you don't even know she's there. I walk by her and I say, when did you get here? She's so quiet, but she just does an amazing job, and she really, I don't think she gets the credit she deserves. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank her and give her a big shout out, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, especially when it comes to state reporting and data. And she just does a fantastic job with it. So I just wanted to give her a shout out and say thank you. And other than that, I don't have anything else. I'm done.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the committee? No? Well, thank you, and your team as well, for all the hard work. Much appreciated. The next item on the agenda under old business is a monthly report on fundraising applications. And just as a reminder, it's the role of the school committee to review fundraising activities, but we don't approve them. There's a number of them in our packet here. Just getting back to them. It looks like the Bartlett Student Council is selling Krispy Kreme donuts. The class of 2023 is running a concession sale at the movie night. The Webster Middle School Band and Chorus is selling chocolate bars, and the Bartlett High School PBIS is selling candy canes. So lots of good stuff going on there. Anything, Dr. Gordon, did you want to add anything? That's it. And then the next item on the agenda under new business is the approval of a surplus item. It's a 3D printer from Webster Middle School.
Middle school has an outdated 3D printer. It's several years old and no longer works. So we are looking to surplus that in accordance with 30B.
Thank you, Mrs. Perangeli. Any questions or comments from the committee about that? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to declare surplus items the Lovelore 5.0 3D printer from the Webster Middle School, and to direct the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance to auction off, donate, or otherwise recycle or dispose of the printer in conjunction with the provisions of Mass General Law 30B.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is acceptance of donations. Dr. Gogan, did you want to take this one?
We receive a lot of donations, as you know, and some of these were from Thanksgiving, but sometimes we get the donations and then they come later to the school committee for acceptance. And I want to give a thanks to everyone who's donated to our schools, and you can probably accept them in a slate, and I'll read them all. We've received a bunch of winter coats for Park Ave students from the Knights of Columbus in Putnam, Connecticut. We received Thanksgiving meal baskets for 15 families at Park Ave from the Life Church. We received Thanksgiving turkeys and gift cards for families at Park Avenue from St. Constantine and Helen Greek Church. And we received 25 Thanksgiving meals for Webster Middle School families from the St. Constantine's and Helen's Greek Church. The generosity during the holidays is always a wonderful thing in our district, and I want to thank everyone for continuing to support our families and students.
Thank you, Dr. Gogan. I'd like to echo those sentiments. You know, Webster is a community that really cares for each other. So if there's any questions about these donations, are there? No? So I will entertain a motion to accept all of these donations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the review, transfer, signing of warrants, bills, payroll, and vouchers. And under that item, there is a request to transfer funds from the Webster Middle School Student Activity Savings Account to the checking account. Let's see if I can find that amount. The transfer request is in the amount of $7,020.82.
And just for clarification, in the school committee notes, it said Bartlett High School, but it is the middle school.
Thank you.
It's correct on the agenda.
Yep, thank you. So if there are no questions about this transfer request, I'm just going to reiterate that just for the motion. It would be a motion to approve a transfer request from the Webster Middle School Student Activity Savings Account to the checking account in the amount of $7,020.82. I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lori, would you please poll the committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone. Happy holidays.